From Kern Government Television, welcome to this week's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting, originating from the County Administrative Center located at 1115 Truxtun Avenue, Bakersfield, California. Kern County's vision is to create and maintain a customer-centered county government designed to garner the confidence, support, and trust of the people we serve. Today's Kern County Board of Supervisors meeting will convene momentarily.
Okay, board to reconvene. Good morning, Madam Clerk. Would you please call the roll?
Supervisor Gleason.
Here.
Supervisor Scrivener.
Here.
Supervisor Maggard.
Here.
Supervisor Couch.
Here.
Supervisor Perez.
Here. Thank you, and good morning, Kern County and colleagues. Welcome to the Tuesday, October 6, 2020 meeting of the Board of Supervisors. We will begin today's meeting with a flag salute led by our very own Supervisor Mick Gleason. Following the flag salute, please remain standing for a moment of prayer, silence, or meditation, whichever you prefer.
Please join me in salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I would like to call Mr. Nick Cullen, Director of Animal Services and hero to Kern County, to come out and discuss our most adorable pet of the week. I thought at first it was a baby monkey, I'll be honest. Right, Kathy? What do you think? So, Nick, who do you have with you?
I have with me this morning Squeak.
Squeak. Oh, my goodness.
It's anybody's guess as to why we call him Squeak.
Look at this little fellow. Oh, my goodness.
So Squeak is a pretty good success story and kind of indicative of what we've been able to accomplish at Animal Services. Squeak's only about 4 weeks old. Came to us about a week ago, a little over a week ago, and he should have weighed 12 ounces, and he came into our shelter weighing 5.
Oh, my goodness.
So he couldn't maintain his own body temperature by himself with no mother. So that's where we depend on our foster care program. The foster family took him and has been feeding him pretty much every 3 hours now for quite some time. And he's just transitioning to the point where he could possibly eat wet food now. So seeking probably a foster parent to take over foster duties until he's old enough to be adopted, which is at 8 weeks, and then he'll have his forever home. And that's Squeak.
Squeak, we are so happy to be a conduit for you and your next foster family, right, as we continue nursing you back to life as the most adorable member of the Kern County community. I'm sure of it. So what is the situation with fostering? Do people pay? Do we pay them? How does it work?
Yeah, so the department covers all costs for foster care. So an animal like Squeak comes in, and they're going to need formula, and they're going to need medical care sometimes, maybe some medication if they're ill, but the department covers all those costs for a foster parent to nurture them until they're able to be adopted. Once they're adopted, it is no longer our department's responsibility, it's your responsibility. But for the public and the community helping us save the pet, especially at such a young age like this, we cover all the costs.
How wonderful. Well, thank you for caring for our most vulnerable and demonstrating just how important our furry friends are for all of us through our actions. So thank you, Nick. We look forward to connecting up Squeak with a good foster family. I also want to take a moment, Nick, to congratulate you from the bottom of my heart and from this board, who I know has their own remarks, for reaching the most improbable and incredible achievement during the month of September, reaching no-kill status for the first time in Kern County history. It's so awesome. I know that this is an amazing accomplishment. It is a testament to not only you, Nick, and your staff at Animal Services, but to our community of Kern County. We join all our residents in celebrating this milestone and working towards continuing and keeping this status. I'd love to hear your remarks, Mr. Cullen, but I want to congratulate you on an incredible Herculean effort that you and your staff have engaged in to get something. I love how the paper said from shame to pride, that what a highlight of collaboration and great community work and thinking outside of the box, what it has produced for the culture of your department and of course these little furry guys. So we'd love to hear from you. I want to congratulate you, and I think others would like to as well.
Thank you. A little unprepared for that, but yeah, I mean, I every time I have the opportunity to talk about where we were on the path to this point, or whether we can do it or not, I mean, a lot of things had to fall into place. And just to put it in its proper place, this is 1 month of data where we achieved this milestone, but that is something to be celebrated, we think. We had cake and some cupcakes, and we did a little happy dance, and we were just happy because, especially for some of the staff members that have been there for quite some time, and remember when we were euthanizing 20,000 pets a year, that to transition to the point where even in 1 month, we could save 95% of the animals that came in. It was just unheard of, like you said. So small celebration, but a celebration nonetheless. But it is not
indicative of where we are and where we're going, frankly.
Absolutely. It does not mean for 1 second that there's not much more work to do in this community to make people better pet owners and to work collaboratively with them. It doesn't not mean that for 1 second. What it means is that this is a win, and it's something that we have struggled with in this county for a long, long time in the sheltering system. And it took the right people in the department and the right board with support, and just to tap into the community's potential to care for these animals. And we were able to do that, if not just for 1 month, we're going to try to continue it throughout the year.
Well, almost 8 years ago, Mick, you'll remember, we all launched this together as one of our board efforts. This is now part of your legacy, Mick, as you prepare to leave to your next chapter. This is this board's legacy and achievement. I think that's pretty remarkable.
Thanks, I appreciate that. I'm sure we're starting on this end and going to go around the room. Nick, I have no credit for this other than the fact that I played some role in moving you into the position you're at. The way I think about this is I'm not a cold-hearted bastard or anything. I just look at it from an organizational perspective and say...
opinions vary, apparently.
Hey, the jury's out still.
From an organizational perspective, Nick, I'm very curious in how you moved from where you were to where we are, and what angles you managed, and what motivational strings you pulled, and what organizational changes and communications, and all those things that go into making a leader successful. I think that all of Kern County can learn or get a little bit out of that, and I'd like to talk with you more about how we can share your experiences in the past 5 to 6 years, and make sure everybody in Kern County understands how you did what you did and your team. So congratulations, Nick. A great organizational achievement. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Couch? Supervisor Couch, rather.
I won't belabor it much, but I recall one of the things I think that the board should do is what we did in this case is we just set a goal. We should remember this, but we set a goal that seemed sort of unattainable at the time, but you were the right guy for the job, and I appreciate the fact that you gave credit to your staff, because without all the people that work at your department, you wouldn't have gotten where you are today. And that little guy right there is a testament to the hard work that you've done, and I very much appreciate it. I know our community appreciates it. Thank you.
Supervisor Scrivener?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, first of all, I think that this truly started with the community taking us to task on the performance level that we had, and for us as a board taking that challenge seriously and wanting to improve the outcomes for the animals that come into our shelter. But I think the big turning point was when we made a significant investment when it came to spay and neuter. I think I suggested during one budget hearing we do 150, and somebody upped me 100,000. I don't remember exactly who it was, but so we went to 250 for spay and neuter efforts. And so once we did that, I think that it demonstrated that we were serious, and we started to make good progress with our spay and neuter clinics. I can think of the efforts in the rural areas of my district where we've gone out with a mobile. We've done shot clinics, and if you've ever seen an animal that is suffering from a disease that should be preventable with a vaccine, you know how important it is to make that effort. to get them vaccinated so they don't have to go through some of those rough outcomes. Our rescues, partnerships with our rescues and our fosters made a huge impact. I think we've done such a great job in partnering with people, Nick, and that's a testament to you and your leadership. City of Bakersfield, have to give them credit for their stepped up efforts as well. I mean, that's made a big impact in the metro area. And to Nick, you and your staff, congratulations, and thank you for your dedication, your heart for these little critters that we all want to take care of. So thank you so much.
Supervisor Maggard.
Thank you. Nick, I just want to congratulate you and your staff. You have a delightful crew that you work with. They are excited every day. They show up enthused and happy and dedicated, and it just is a testament to the perseverance of them in light of some very, very low points, going all the way back to the photographs in the paper of the puppies in that bin. Just what a tragic moment that is frozen in my mind and the mind of many people in our community. Another low point was the day that Supervisor Scrivener and I thought we had a deal worked out with the City of Bakersfield, and that fell apart, and we found ourselves moving to another location, and we wondered, would we be able to, how would we go forward? And we, again, a testament to your department, scrambling to set up from nothing a facility that works well and is effective. And I just look forward to whatever the next chapter is. But I mostly want to congratulate you and your crew for the great job they've done, and the willingness of my colleagues to really put their shoulder behind it and say, this is going to happen. But in addition to all your crew, you do a really great job for us, Nick, and I appreciate your perseverance as well. You've never taken your eye off the ball about that. So thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Nick, and thank you to your crew.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Zach, you made a great point about the other influences that helped make this become a reality, and some of that was the public. I think James Berger certainly deserves a small shout out here. For 10 years of covering really the euthanasia crisis in Kern County, given our profound love for animals here in this community. And he really kept attention on that matter. And of course, Liz Keogh and many other wonderful members of this community who came forward and partnered with this board by offering their expertise and their vouchers, right, and their ideas. It was certainly not an easy process, but to Zach's point, it has produced an outcome that we see here today. I remember, Nick, right after you started, I sent you a picture from the Californian, a Berger's piece, that had you carrying an animal. You were a little bit younger then, Nick. I won't age you.
Heavier too.
But you were definitely a young man, younger, and you were carrying an animal to take him to the end of his life. And the look on your face, the anguish, you were just a staffer then, and I remember sending you that, and I saw in your heart and in your face, such profound love for those animals. And that has been demonstrated through your own moral leadership, but it has trickled down to your staff that really feel, a moral drive to do right by these animals.
Just to interject, I was sitting here the morning that I presented before this board a plan to potentially someday have a no-kill animal sheltering system in Kern County. And just before I got on, there was a reporter who covered many stories, who you may or may not have just mentioned his name. And he saw what was on the agenda, and he had no warning, and he pulled me aside and he said, "Don't you feel that's a bit too ambitious?" And I remember thinking, and I said it during open session, that it's about time that somebody has some ambition in animal services. And if I was to say anything, like to answer the question that Supervisor Mick had asked, it's ambition. My department, the people that work for your animal services agency, they have ambition to do better by the animals, and that's how this was achieved, collaborating so that the ambition gets followed through.
Well, hats off to you. Great job to your team. And let's keep the progress moving. We know we can't, let any of our gains be lost.
And if anybody wants to foster Squeak, get a hold of me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kathy. That's great. And thank you, Mr. Cullen. The County of Kern has provided notice that as a result of the declared federal, state, and local emergencies due to the COVID-19 pandemic, and in light of the governor's order, this Board of Supervisors meeting is not physically open to the public. Testimony and general public comment could be given through email or telephone to the clerk of the board prior to today's meeting, and live comments through teleconference will be heard during the meeting. We will begin by considering the consent agenda. All items listed with a capital C, capital A are considered to be routine and non-controversial by staff. Consent items will be considered first and may be approved by one motion. If a member of the audience wishes to comment or ask questions regarding an item or items on the consent agenda, they may do so prior to a vote being taken on the consent agenda. A member of the board may remove any item from the consent agenda, and it will be considered in listed sequence, with an opportunity for any member of the public to address the board concerning the item before action is taken. A member of the public may also comment on any closed session item. Consent matters begin on page 2, and they include items 1 through 8. On page 3, items 11, 12, and 14 through 18. On page 4, items 19 and 21 through 27. On page 5, items 28 through 34. On page 6, items 35 through 41. And finally, on page 7, items 42 through 48. Madam Clerk, do we have any public comments submitted on the consent agenda?
No, we do not.
Okay, are there any board members who would like any items pulled from consent, or would you like to comment or discuss?
Madam Chair, I'd like to abstain from item number 12 this morning for reasons of my wife working for Ridgecrest Regional Hospital.
Okay, so you will recuse on item 12? Excuse me.
Abstain, yeah.
Abstain, excuse me. Any comments, gentlemen, or any wishes regarding consent?
Motion on the consent agenda?
Second.
Then we have a motion and a consent with the abstention on 12 for Mick. Please cast your votes.
The motion is approved. It should read 4 ayes, 1 abstention, Supervisor Gleason. Oh, I'm sorry, no, this is the consent agenda. My apologies. The consent agenda is approved, all ayes, and the record will reflect Supervisor Gleason's abstention to item 12.
As to the one vote, his vote stands for all other matters.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Mick, that's good with you? Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, now we're moving to public presentations. Item number 9, this portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the board on matters not on today's specific agenda, but within the jurisdiction of the Kern County Board of Supervisors. Ms. Kraus, what do we have by way of public presentation?
Madam Chair, members of the board, we do have one voice message that was sent in. We're going to hear that first. It is from Linda Ryan, and we will go ahead and play that now.
Thank you.
My name is Linda Ryan, Lindaryan, COVID-19 AM session from New California State, Kern County Committee. We are putting you on notice. Attorney General Barr warned public officials that the Constitution is not suspended for COVID-19. When you took office, you swore an oath to the U.S. Constitution. This oath is a contract, and if you violate your oath, you would be in breach of contract. Did you know that in California, if you violate your oath of office, it is a felony? I am here to tell you it is time to open up our county. Please refer to Section 1026 of the Government Code, Title I, General Division 4, Public Officers and Employees, Chapter 1, Article 2. When you choose to go along with Governor Newsom's unconstitutional guidance rules of closing businesses and having open business, make employees and customers wear a mask and perform social distancing, it is in violation of the government code I just stated. Stay-at-home orders, limits to gatherings, closing schools, churches, fairs, car shows, and other events violate the 1st, 4th, 8th, and 14th Amendments and are unconstitutional. Abide by your oath. Open up Kern County. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We also received, and you have a copy at the dais of, and all the board members have received a copy of emails received. There are 2 emails from Andrew Bragger. These are concerning COVID-19 business shutdown, forced masking, and social distancing. You also received an email from Lynette Bankston, who is an employee with Department of Agricultural Measurement Standards, and her issue relates to salary compaction within the department. So you have received those emails. And then we have one member of the public who is standing by, ready to provide you with telephonic comments. And this is Mr. Freddie Hogan. Mr. Hogan, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you have 2 minutes to address the board.
My name is Freddie Hogan Jr., and I am a constituent of Ms. Letitia Perez of District 5. My message to Ms. Perez and the rest of the Board of Supervisor members is that in the year 2015, I received a mortgage assistance loan from the Keep Your Home California, and Wells Fargo was my mortgage holder. And when they processed my loan, it went terribly wrong because they processed it under the wrong circumstances, which included other parties that didn't apply to myself as well. And the loan itself was a shamble. And I've been trying to get in touch with Ms. Perez for the past year and a half so I could have this discussion with her. But her assistant, Christian, has lied to me for a whole year now, a whole year and a half, about a meeting set up with her to discuss my mortgage loan. My loan right now is not in the hands of Wells Fargo's like it started out. It's in the hands of supposedly be for troubled loans, specialized loan servicing. All of the money and all of the process of this disbursement of the money that was sent to them was sent under false pretenses because Wells Fargo's and the Keep Your Home California said that I had signed a paper distinguishing myself from any parts of this here mortgage assistance. I've given up, according to them, all my legal rights, and there's just no way in the world that I would have did something like that. All of the documentation that was sent to them and never sent to me in the process of this loan, I couldn't have anything to do with this here because they said I signed over all my legal rights to them, and this was supposed to have been a mortgage assistance for me to try and keep my home, but apparently it seems to me that the Keep Your Home California and Wells Fargo has been doing everything over the past 5 years to try and force me out of my home. This loan took process in 2015, and I've been trying to get some assistance and some help in regards to the process of my loan.
Mr. Hogan.
Ever since I've had it, and I've been unable to do it. Like I said, the loan is in the process of specialized loan servicing.
Mr.
Which,
Hogan?
both Wells Fargo's and the Keep Your Home California has very much familiarity with the loan and these people here that have the loan because they handle all of their trouble loans.
Mr. Hogan, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just wanted to let you know that the reason my staff continues to give you referrals to agencies that can help you is because the issue of the mortgage conflict between you and Wells Fargo is not an issue that the Kern County Board of Supervisors deals with. We don't get involved in those kind of private sector matters or disagreements. So it is why my staff continues to give you referrals and to send you places that is appropriately handled, because this body is not a place for that. And I'm so sorry, and I know the distress that you're in, but this is not the place to handle it, sir.
Excuse me, Ms. Perez. With all due respect to you and your staff, I was in a meeting with Kristen about the 8th or the 9th of August of this year, and this young man told me that he was going to send me over to Rudy Salas's office, where I had started out the process of this here. And he said he would make sure that he would do follow-up on it and make sure that I get the proper assistance, because he had a friend there that was supposed to assist me. I received one call on the very same day that I was on that 5th floor in that boardroom with him, and the young lady called, and I've tried to make several calls to make contact with him so I wouldn't have to. This here was my only last and only chance.
Mr. Hogan. This is a state issue, as we've told you, and so my office is going to call you again this morning, reconnect you with the proper state office since it is not within our jurisdiction. But we need to move on this agenda, sir, because this is not a matter that the Board of Supervisors properly
ma'am,
addresses.
According to your
Kathy.
paper, you
Thank
said
you.
for your constituents
My staff will
in your
call him
area
now, okay?
to make contact.
And we've had many, many, many discussions with Mr. Hogan, and I certainly hope that we can help him find answers to his issues. Do we have any other public presentations?
We do not.
Okay. We're going to move along to board member announcements or reports. I would like to bring attention to the article in the paper, Shame Turns to Pride as Kern County Animal Shelter Reaches No-Kill Status. I'd love to just draw your attention there. It is a great moment of achievement, something we've worked very hard for, and I would like to also thank our planning director, Lorelei Oviatt. When the monies that Supervisor Scrivener referred to earlier dried up because of our tough economic times and we had to make cuts, this is one of those cuts. But we very creatively worked with folks in this community in the private sector who agreed to contribute to this cause given its importance, and here we are at this status. So Lorelei Oviatt, really hats off to you and to Hone, who helped keep our no-kill efforts alive and to get us to where we are today. So thank you so very much. Did you have a comment on that, Chief?
If I could, a real quick public presentation on update with the Wildland Fires.
Please.
Madam Chairwoman, members of the board, California's wildland problem 2020. This year, fires have burned more than 4 million acres in California. 5 of the top 20 largest fires in California history have occurred in 2020. 31 people have been killed by fires, including 4 firefighters. 8,687 structures are damaged or destroyed. We've been playing a heavy effort in that, and I'm very proud of the men and women of the Kern County Fire Department. But I also want to point out all the local efforts that we've had. I think a lot of times they're hidden by these catastrophic fires. 855 vegetation fires of all types since January 1st. 544 wildfires during this time. 543 significant wildfires, and only 5 exceeded 100 acres. This is all significant within Kern County, and I just wanted to say thank you to all of our firefighters for doing a great job this summer, countless hours and effort, and I just wanted to give you an update.
Thank you very much for your hard work and leadership, Chief. Do we have any questions or comments to our Chief? Thank you for that update. Any other board member announcements or reports? Supervisor Maggard, I'm hoping, I think an update, our COVID update is due. And then Mr. Constantine, are you present? I don't see you. There you are. Thank you very much. Supervisor Maggard, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Could Bryn Kerrigan come forward and walk us through a little bit of what's going on? Mr. Constantine is not here today, but Ms. Kerrigan is. And Bryn, could you give us an update as to what our current numbers are and what we're on the verge of being able to move forward with?
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Bryn Kerrigan. I'm the Assistant Director of Kern County Public Health. This morning we will be announcing 87 new cases, bringing our total cases in Kern County residents to 32,609 cases. We're also announcing 1 additional death, bringing our total deaths in Kern County to 387. On Thursday morning, with the help of County Council and the statistician that we've been working closely with, we were able to release additional demographic information about our local deaths. This additional demographic information includes age ranges, race, ethnicity, sex of individuals who have been reported to have died from COVID from March through September 30th. As well as underlying health conditions. That information should be very helpful for our community to understand what those risk factors are to death and severe illness to COVID-19. Additionally, last week, late on Wednesday, the state released details for the health equity measure for the state's blueprint for a safer economy. Kern was classified as a larger county within the state of California and will now be measured based on testing positivity rate within the lowest quartile of the Healthy Places Index. What this means is that each county's census tracts have been ranked using California Healthy Places Index based on socioeconomic conditions such as education, transportation, housing, access to health care, amongst others. 25% of those lowest ranking census tracts, or the lowest quartile, must have an aggregate testing positivity rate of 8% or below for the county to progress to the less restrictive Tier 2. This measure went into effect today, and we are actively working on strategies to address these areas. This change means that Kern will now have to meet 3 metrics for 2 consecutive weeks before we can officially move into the less restrictive tier. Those 3 metrics are now the adjusted countywide case rate of 7 per 100,000 population or below, a countywide testing positivity rate of below 8%, and a lowest quartile aggregate testing positivity rate of below 8%. That concludes my comments.
Thank you.
I'm available for questions.
Thank you very much. I'd like to just ask you to help us expand on a few issues. First, let's talk about the equity standard. So the equity standard is not, it is a standard of 8%. I want you to confirm this, please. I'm just trying to restate it to make sure I understand it. A standard of less than 8%, and that 8% doesn't change going forward. So if we get below 8%, then we're measured only by the other 2 metrics. Is that correct?
Not fully.
Okay.
So we're measured by that health equity measure moving forward. However, that health equity metric is not used if we are to move to the less restrictive tier. It will not be used to move us back if
Okay.
we no longer meet that metric.
Okay, so, thank you. So when we first received the instructions on how to calculate this 3rd equity standard, we did not meet that standard of less than 8%. But I believe we do meet that standard now. What is our number now with regard to that? 6.2 is, I think, what you told me.
Supervisor Maggard, through the chair, you're correct. Last Tuesday, we were at 8.3%, but as of today, the state will announce that we're at 6.2% in that category.
Thank you. And to make sure that we meet this 3rd requirement that we now have with the equity standard, what steps are we taking to make sure that we are doing everything possible to improve the health measurement of those in that lower quartile?
So we're working really on 2 paths in these census tracts. We have a reverse 911 system at our fingertips. It's known as Ready Kern, and so we're going to staff live bodies on the other end of the phone, and we're going to reverse 911 or make these phone calls into these houses that are residing within these census tracts to really have a better understanding about their knowledge on testing, if they're experiencing barriers to obtaining testing, if they have access to PPE, and if not, how we can help them with that. Then we're also partnering with community-based organizations specifically located within these census tracts. Those seem to be trusted resources within these communities who may be less receptive to us coming to them with messaging, but more receptive to those community-based organizations coming to them and promoting testing and PPE and that sort of thing.
Thank you. I just want to reiterate for the public's benefit that the first time we calculated our positivity rate for the lowest quartile, it being above 8%, that was largely because we believe it's relatively very few people, if you can confirm that, please, and that the only people that were getting tested were, to a large extent, people who were already ill. So what we're doing now is trying to make more people aware of their health and their opportunities to measure and monitor where they are with this. And by increasing testing, we think that will, and that has in fact brought the rate down. Is that an accurate reflection?
Supervisor Maggard, through the chair, that is accurate, yes.
Thank you. So tell us, please, about where we are. We've been in the purple, the lowest tier 1, now for, I think, 5 weeks. But we have good news as of Monday, yesterday. What are our numbers Monday?
So we do have fantastic news. Today, the state is going to report that Kern County does meet the metrics for Tier 2 in all of our categories. That does not mean that we are officially in Tier 2 because the Blueprint for a Safer Economy requires that we meet those metrics within our more restrictive tier for a consecutive 2-week period. So this will be the start of that, and the state is saying that this is officially day 7. So we're about halfway through. If we meet those metrics again next week, we will officially be in Tier 2. Our official metrics that will be released today is an adjusted case rate of 5.5, a testing positivity rate of 4.7%, and a lowest quartile aggregate testing positivity rate of 6.2%.
Thank you. So that's great news. The times that the state measures us, is it like a running snapshot each Monday of how we look as a county?
Supervisor Maggard through the chair, yes it is. It is a 7-day rolling window with a 7-day lag, and so they look at, it's a 7-day average period with a 7-day lag every Monday to determine where our county falls.
Thank you. So our adjusted case rate as of today for the first week of this 2-week measurement period is 5.5 for adjusted case rate, and the standard is something at 7 or less. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And our positivity rate is 4.7. It has to be less than 8%, right?
That is correct.
Very good. Thank you. So if we stay on track, we look good in that regard. What happens if next Monday we meet the measurement again?
So if next Monday we meet the measurement again, we are officially in Tier 2 on Tuesday of next week, which is October 13th. And some of our business sectors will be allowed to reopen with restrictions.
So it's going to be very, very important that our business sectors know who is affected. So can you give us a brief synopsis of, first of all, when they will be able to operate under these less onerous restrictions, and a general idea of what those less onerous restrictions are?
Supervisor Maggard through the chair, absolutely. The changes will take effect immediately. So should we meet those metrics next week and officially move into Tier 2 on Tuesday of next week, which is October 13th, then those industry sectors will be allowed to open immediately. Specifically, those industry sectors that are either closed currently or only able to operate outdoors in our current tier, but that can reopen indoors in the next tier, is personal care services like massage, tattoos, that sort of thing. Museums, zoos, and aquariums, places of worship, movie theaters, gyms and fitness centers, restaurants. Those are the main industry sectors.
And they can reopen for indoor activities at its various levels of capacity, though, right?
That is correct.
So off the top of your head, can you tell us, for example, at what capacity would a restaurant be able to operate indoors?
So within Tier 2, a restaurant is able to operate indoors at a max 25% capacity or 100 people, whichever is fewer.
And those restaurants are not thereafter not allowed to proceed outdoors, but they may, in addition to their outdoor activity, move indoors if they so choose.
That is correct.
Okay. Tell us just about one more, and that is houses of worship, churches. What is the less onerous restriction for churches?
So places of worship within Tier 2 are allowed to reopen indoors, with max capacity of 25% or 100 people, whichever is fewer.
Very good. So are we going to have any problem, are we going to have any strategy on how to make the public aware as we build up to next Monday? And if we meet the standard on Monday, where does the public go to see, here's how I can operate my business or my church or whatever my activity is thereafter?
Supervisor Maggard through the chair, all this information is available on our website with links directly to each of these industry sectors and what their restrictions are within each tier. We will also have a press release, if not even a press conference, if we do meet that metric. On Tuesday, we'll have information that we will email out if they are a facility that we have that contact information for. So we'll try to make our contact as widespread as possible so that our community is aware.
Thank you. And what is our website?
Our website is kernpublichealth.com. There's a big button at the top of that website that has COVID-19 information, and we'll have links on that page directly to this information.
Very good. Mr. Alsop, can't people also go to kerncounty.com and get to the same place? So kernpublichealth.com or kerncounty.com, and you can see how that will work out. Now, we talked earlier about animal control and having a big vision of aspire to as high a level as we possibly can. Let's talk for just a second about level 3. So we were in purple. We hope next week to be able to move to the red level. What's that for a colorblind guy? What's the color of the next tier after that?
It's orange.
Orange, okay. So the orange tier, that has a requirement, as I understand it, with a adjusted case rate of 3.9%, and we are still at 5.5, so we're not there yet. I'm very encouraged by this. The standard for testing positivity is 4.9%, and we're currently at 4.7. So we are getting closer to that. How long would it take us if once our numbers fall far enough that we are good enough to be in the orange or tier 3 category, how many weeks must we stay in tier 2 before we can move into tier 3?
The minimum amount of time we must stay in tier 2 would be 3 weeks. With 2 of those weeks being required to meet those tier 3 metrics.
Very good. Okay. And we can talk more, I don't want to confuse people more about what better opportunities there are to operate our businesses and keep jobs in tier 3, but I just want people to have the sense that we are on a trajectory to possibly be able to get there sooner than later. Now a dose of reality. Beyond our control, we're not the ones who set this standard, but beyond our control, it is possible that 2 things could happen. The state could change the standard again, which we know is possible. They've changed it many, many times so far. Or the second one is that our meeting these standards were to fluctuate. So what happens if we see a spike, and it's very likely the disease is going to ebb and flow a bit over the next few months. But what happens if how does it go the other way? What would have to go wrong before we might have to drop back into tier 1 and be subject to those greater restrictions?
Assuming we're in tier 2, if we fail the tier 2 metrics and therefore are in metrics greater than tier 2 in tier 1 metrics for 2 consecutive weeks, then we must fall back to tier 1 and implement those more restrictive requirements on our sectors within Kern County within 3 days of falling back.
Of all the things, all the messages that we send out to the state of California, I hope we can deliver this message effectively, and our colleagues in other counties around California can do the same. And that is that it will be devastating to the operation of these businesses if they are told to turn on their operation and then turn off their operation. It is that uncertainty is devastating to not only the hopes and aspirations of those that are trying to make it work, but to the economic realities of it. So I hope we can join with our colleagues in other counties delivering that message that just how dangerous it is to the economy, the quality of life of everybody in California if we are whipsawed back and forth between these. So thank you for your information about that. I'd like to invite Supervisor Scrivener to say something, whatever you'd like about this. And then after we're all done talking about this, I have another referral, Madam Chair, that has nothing to do with this matter. Supervisor Scrivener.
Thank you, Supervisor Maggard. Well, first of all, I just want to assure the board and the public that our ad hoc committee that is comprised of Supervisor Maggard and I, along with Matt Constantine and Bryn Kerrigan and Ryan Alsop, that we've been working diligently to try and respond to the state's continued moving of the goalposts on us, despite the fact that I don't think it's fair that they continue to change the rules. We have, I think, responded admirably in trying to achieve the new metrics that they've laid out to us, whether it's our partnerships with community organizations to increase our canvassing efforts, the reverse 911, and the numbers are bearing the fruits, I think, of not just the efforts of this board, but also the community. I think the community has really stepped up and recognized that this disease continues to be transmitted in our social circles. This isn't something that is being transmitted widespread through our businesses. It really comes down to personal responsibility. And the fact that the governor continues to punish certain business sectors, I think, is unfair, because that's not where I believe the disease is being spread. It's being spread, as I said, in our own backyards and homes, et cetera. But regardless, we have, I think, made significant progress in moving to the reopening of more of our business sectors and to a greater capacity, as Supervisor Maggard, quite eloquently and clearly discussed. And so I just want to continue to urge everyone to be diligent, because we are making progress, and I think that we may have some very, very good news in a week or so based on the trend lines that we're seeing right now. And so thank you, Ms. Kerrigan. Thank you, Supervisor Maggard.
Can we, Supervisor Gleason, is that for now? Yes. Supervisor Maggard, I'll come back to you when we finish up COVID. Thank you, Supervisor Gleason.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just two quick questions. The press conference we talked about is the outreach to let people know, alert people that we're moving from purple to red, if that happens, which we're optimistic. That's going to go out to like the entire county, not just the Bakersfield area, but people on the other side of the mountains. Everywhere is going to be a part of that press conference.
Supervisor Gleason, through the chair, that's correct.
Perfect. What are the implications for our government meetings here if we, for example, our Board of Chambers meetings every Tuesday, if we move to red? I know that other local agencies, cities, and water districts are opening their government meetings. What does that mean for us? Do you have any advice or counsel or thoughts?
So Supervisor Gleason, through the chair, offices, non-essential offices are still considered remote in Tier 2, but I would defer to council on if any changes would need to be made for us changing to Tier 2 on how these meetings are structured.
Are we ready to answer that question yet, or do you need time?
Supervisor Gleason, through the chair, I can at this point tell you that pursuant to the executive order number 2920, which is the one that is having meetings such as yours allowed to be done remotely or have call-in participants. It does specify the provisions concerning the conduct of public meetings shall apply only during the period in which state and local public health officials have imposed or recommended social distancing measures. So it's a very broad restriction or opening, and I believe that would be up to your board at this point.
Thank you. Are we going to take that up? Mr. Alsop, are you aware of any efforts to change and open up our meetings, or not at this time, or have we had that, open that door for discussion yet?
We have not opened that door for discussion yet, okay. Supervisor.
Thank you very much.
So you're done, Supervisor Gleason? Okay, as it relates to COVID, gentlemen, anything? No. Okay, so Mike will wrap up our board member announcements with your referral. Oh, you do. I'm sorry. And then Supervisor Scrivener after Maggard.
Would you like to go first? Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair. Last summer, when we watched the I don't know what you call them, that you wouldn't call them demonstrations happening all across the country about social inequality and things like that. We can argue about what has happened since, but what is not really at dispute is the fact that there are certain inequalities in our country. And when that began last summer, a discussion began to take place across our community as to how we might raise the bar, so to speak, for everyone in our community to have opportunity to dream and aspire and just see the realization of their goals and aspirations in life. And this group came together that's called Kern Community First, and they have put forward an initiative. You have each received, I believe, a few emails, like a few as in 500 or more, which is an extraordinary demonstration of the breadth of the support for this. But as a result of this, I would like to make a referral today regarding the county evaluating and making a formal response to the Kern Community First Initiative call for action. The Kern Community First Initiative represents the opportunity for us to once and for all simply assist our neighbors in helping themselves. The requests and suggestions of the initiative some of those are within our purview, others are not. There are many that have to do with law enforcement, and the Sheriff's Department and various police departments will contend with those issues. But those issues that are within our purview, I think we should do something about. And those issues fall basically in two categories. One is employment and recruitment policies, and the other is economic development. So I'd like to refer to staff this morning two categories for us to look at. With regard to employment and recruitment, there are numerous ones in this initiative, but I just want to highlight a few of them in my referral this morning. With regard to employment and recruitment, a process by which we evaluate our hiring and promotional guidelines, just to make sure that we are, as much as possible, offering those opportunities to everyone in our community and making everyone aware of how they happen. And the second is establish policies that recruit locally for the Sheriff's Department, Fire Department, probation, and establish, it has a great idea about establishing internships, mentoring programs. The Kern High School District has a program called Project Best, where they recruit young people on high school campuses, make them aware of career opportunities, and then help them move in. I think there's an opportunity to very significantly expand that. I know that the fire chief has expressed an interest in doing that, and I'm grateful for his leadership in that regard. With regard to economic development, this is an area that I'm much more well-versed in. Economic development, there's no doubt that there exist in Kern County certain areas that have historically suffered from blight and untapped economic potential. So there are a few of those that I think we should look at the whole initiative, but I just want to highlight a few. There are some great ideas in this initiative, such as establishing a dedicated position in the county to assist in the development of minority-owned businesses. I think that's a very workable and good idea. Create an online repository for resources and information for minority businesses and vendors to be able to go and see, they can find out, here's how it works, here's how you apply to be a vendor for the county, here's how you apply to perform services for the county. A great idea that I'd never thought of before, called establishing a quick pay program for undercapitalized, very small businesses, and many of those are minority owned. Those are the bureaucracy of how county government works causes them to wait 30, 60, or 90 days to be paid. Well, when you're a very small business, undercapitalized, you have no credit history, you can't wait 30, 60, 90 days to be paid. So quick pay is a suggestion that the initiative makes to pay them within 2 weeks to help them get it going, just to help spur these very small businesses. I think that's a great idea. The establishment of an entrepreneurial academy for aspiring entrepreneurs, I think that's a great idea. Incentivizing the development of vacant lots in distressed areas. There are many distressed lots and empty lots, remnant lots, some people call them, but these vacant lots are left over in some of these neighborhoods, and there's an opportunity to develop affordable housing for those that live there and have that affordable housing provided by people who also live there. It's a great opportunity to incentivize the development of those lots, as well as maybe if we can identify, I know already from CDBG, there are some funding opportunities for that. Incentivizing businesses to expand and locate and develop in those underserved, those blighted and underdeveloped neighborhoods. And lastly, in the referral this morning, incentivizing the hiring of youth from within those areas. I remember in my high school days, as long ago as they were, those great friends of mine that came from neighborhoods that were struggling, and they had every opportunity, they had every aspiration that I had, but they lived in an area that just caused their dreams and aspirations for many of them not to occur. And if we can come up with a way that those young people can have those same dreams and aspirations, only we help facilitate helping that occur for them. We reach into the great teammates on teams, great students, young people that have opportunities. We can mentor them into moving forward. I just think that's a wonderful opportunity. So I would like this morning to ask the CAO to bring together our fire chief, planning department, public works, purchasing, personnel, any other departments that are necessary to earnestly evaluate and recommend changes as appropriate under this initiative. I'm happy to participate and do whatever I can to help. But Madam Chair, that would be my referral this morning, and hope that we could come back to this board. It's going to take some time to develop this and work with this group, but this is a wonderful opportunity for us to raise opportunity and the bar for people to simply help themselves. And that would be my referral this morning, Madam Chair.
Supervisor Maggard, thank you so much for that referral. In my experience, it is usually people who look more like me who have these conversations. So when it comes from you, Mike, it has a credibility and a gravitas that most people will never experience in a lifetime. So I want to thank you personally for making this important, for bringing it to the attention to the Board of Supervisors, because I don't think it's easy, and it's so important. And the more we talk about it and the more inclusive we are, you know, the smoother these conflicts that will always be present in human relationships, that we will be able to work through them together with a sense that we are one community. While we are different, Kathy Krause, right? Our politics don't match, and yet here we are. You know, working things out at the local level by being inclusive and respectful to others. So I too, Mike, was blown away by the hundreds of petitions I've received. It was absolutely, as you said, a really strong demonstration of really the breadth of representation and amount of people who would like us to, you know, work better at these things and to do so in a place that, or in a way that is encouraging and builds community. So I'm very encouraged by this referral. Do we need a vote on this matter, Kathy?
If you'd like it to be considered a board referral, it does require a vote.
Okay, so Mike, that was your motion?
That would be my motion, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Gentlemen, is there a second? If not, I'm happy to second. I can second, right? Okay, I'm sorry.
second it.
I missed you, Zach. Zach Scrivener with a second. Can we please take a vote?
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Thank you, colleagues. I look forward to that conversation. Zach, do you have a separate announcement?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do. I have a separate referral, and this referral is in response to Governor Newsom's continued attacks on our oil industry here in Kern County and attacks on our Kern County economy. The governor's recent announcements about phasing out fossil fuels all contain statements that we can retain jobs and create economic growth through expanding renewable energy and specifically commercial solar. Kern County's solar industry has been an exceptional partner in our communities, and I want to just stress that point. This is about the governor. This isn't about our partners in the solar industry. They stepped up right away during our COVID emergency with everything from contributions of water and PPE to gift cards for our seniors through Aging and Adult Services. They have funded everything from solar streetlights in Eastern Kern to food baskets at Thanksgiving. They have become our neighbors and important members of our business community. Now it is time for Governor Newsom to step up, as these projects have one flaw established by Sacramento. They have an exemption from being reassessed and paying their fair share of property taxes like all other businesses. Sacramento gave them this exemption, and this exemption makes sense if you put solar panels on your roof. I'm not looking to, nor is anyone looking to have people pay higher taxes for your house if you have solar on that. That's not what we're talking about here. But it makes no sense for these large-scale commercial projects, which we work to process and permit and host, and the electricity goes to Southern and Northern California. So these green electrons that we are producing here in Kern County are going to communities to the south and to the north. They do not pay the value that other businesses pay. They do pay the value of the land as if it was vacant, but they don't pay for the value of the over $50 billion of projects that they have constructed. This exemption was supposed to phase out in 2014, but instead, the state legislature extended this property tax exemption another 10 years to 2024. So here we go again. Sacramento administrations and the Newsom administration is moving the goalpost on solar, just like the governors continue to do so on the COVID-19 conversation. So I'd like to make a referral to the Planning and Natural Resources Department And I've discussed this with Ms. Oviatt, who heads up that department, as well as our CAO, Ryan Alsop, and our assessor, John Lifquist. I'd like to make a referral for our Planning and Natural Resources Department to work with the CAO and the assessor to prepare a report on what the commercial scale solar projects would have to pay if they were assessed like the rest of our businesses. We want equity for our 900,000 people who live in Kern, who provide the green energy for millions in the rest of California to the north and the south. Of course, there's no sacrifice to them, but there is a fiscal sacrifice for us in the lack of property taxes. And this conversation, once again, is because the governor said we can eliminate your oil industry and we can replace it with green jobs. And so let's find out if that's actually true. Let's find out if you can actually replace the property tax and the economic impact of our oil industry with green industry as the governor purports that we can. I don't think so. And I'd like to know exactly what it would take in order for that fair exchange to occur, which is what he's laid out to us. Governor Newsom needs to hear that with the current tax structure, solar will not replace or even make a significant contribution to our more than $98 million loss to our general fund here in Kern County as a result of his anti-oil policies. We are not interested in grants or hearings that it may be worked out later. We need to know now what the impact is going to be on our county. The governor has made immediate demands for action attacking our oil industry, and so I'm asking for immediate action as well. The fiscal impacts of these policies need to be front and center this legislative session, and we will be seeking with our solar partners solutions from the governor that restore our property tax revenues on commercial scale solar. And so I hope that this study and this report is going to be the first step. So I'd ask the board to support us on that. I think we need to know now what the implications are going to be on this purported replacement of our oil and gas industry with renewables. Thank you. So that's a referral, please.
Thank you, Supervisor Scrivener. Can I ask, I don't see any of my colleagues punched in, but I'd like to ask Director Oviatt if you could come forward and give us your thoughts on this referral, how we should think about it, how the public should think about what we're asking in layman's terms. You know, Zach Scrivener is so brilliant and intelligent. Sometimes what he is conveying is high level. I'd like you to try to help us in very common sense and simple terms understand what he is conveying.
Thank you. Lorelei Oviatt, Director of Kern County Planning and Natural Resources. So as the supervisor has laid out, we have thousands of acres of commercial scale solar. So this is not the solar on your roof. This isn't even the solar on, for example, an ag processing plant. That's not what we're talking about. We are talking about the large-scale solar that we do environmental impacts for. They do pay a small amount to fire, sheriff, and countywide protection for their environmental impacts. However, just as when Amazon comes in, the value of the Amazon facility and the amount of money goes in to build it, the assessor assesses them an amount, just like you get a tax bill every year. The solar companies got this exemption because the electricity rates, they were not competitive with wind back in the 2010s. So the legislature said, well, we need to help them. So we're going to take money from local government and we're going to then incentivize the electricity rates for green energy. We were in a recession. We needed jobs. This helped us get through a recession, and we thought it would phase out in 2014. In 2014, powerful interest in the solar industry came forward, and at the last minute, although the counties had agreed, we had a coalition to phase it out. At 11:59 on the last day of the session, this powerful interest swooped in and said, we need that. So then they extended it to 2024. The only place that is truly building large-scale solar is Kern County. We have 8 times more than anybody else. We have 3,000 megawatts in the pipeline. We have 3,000 megawatts of battery storage in the pipeline. This is not about those projects. They will come on their merits. But at some point, the CAO has indicated that we don't have enough property tax revenue to keep our libraries open and our parks open. So the question that was asked of Mr. Lifquist and me was, do we know how much money they would have paid? And the answer is we don't. No one has ever run those numbers. We will be hiring an economist to work on this report. We have been in communication with our solar partners. They are very interested in working with us to help us with the administration resolve this inequity. So this is, as the supervisor has indicated, this is not about the solar companies paying more. This is about the people who buy the green electricity. This is a statewide problem. So I'd just like to point out that LA County essentially has zoned out large-scale solar. San Bernardino County has turned against it. Other counties have turned against it. And the number one reason is this tax policy. So I hope that gives you just a little overview that this has been going on for quite a few years. With the CAO's office behind the scenes, we have been attempting with the previous administration and this administration to daylight this issue and have no resolution. So thank you very much for the referral. We anticipate it will take us a couple of months, but with the CAO and his legislative, our legislative partners in Sacramento, we intend to start now looking at solutions and not waiting for the report.
And I think, Lorelei, I'm sorry, Supervisor Scrivener, were you?
I just, once you're finished, Madam Chair, thank you. And Ms. Oviatt, I appreciate your remarks. I just wanted to ask if Mr. Alsop had any comments about this. Because he's been a part of our initial discussions on this referral. Thank you.
Yep. Lorelei, you will appreciate this morning I was giving a guest lecture at Cal State at 7 o'clock. And of course, this issue comes up. What are my opinions about the announcement from our governor? And well, how should we think about who we are as energy players? I mean, what is going on? There's so much confusion. And I think this discussion in particular is way long overdue. As you know, it is an increasing frustration because we know that this market was largely established and created by leaders who have power, and that's how it works. So that's what we know has caused us largely to have what we have today, make it possible and incentivize it. But we have, I believe, reached a point of diminished return to some degree as it relates to the need to incentivize this market and what it means for the cost to local government. And how do we continue to tell the public that this is a reasonable, best, superior course of action, right, when our legislators are not making a tax structure and system that's commensurate with driving this market on its own merits. So I think this is totally timely. Zach, you're spot on. Thank you. Thank you for your telling us in English what we're doing here and helping the public to understand why, in really simple terms, this is so problematic and that Kern County is bearing such a huge brunt of that. And I know people are well-intended, Lorelei. I certainly don't desire to fight with anyone in Sacramento about the issue, but highlighting why this is problematic and how much Kern County has borne in this process, producing more than half the state's renewables, I think is totally righteous, fair, and timely. So thank you. Zach, thank you for your leadership on it. And we know how much of your district is consumed by these matters, so thank you there. CAO Alsop, do you have comments? Zach asked if you would chime in.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I think this is among the very most important things that we will ever do for this county, and I'm on board.
We have a motion.
Happy to second.
We have a motion by a proud motion by Supervisor Zach Scrivener, second by Supervisor Maggard. Will you please cast your votes? Thank you, Zach. I look forward to that discussion.
The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, are we done? Are we ready to move to the normal agenda? Did I miss anything, Kathy? We're ready. Okay, item number 13 is a presentation on the status of the preparation for the November 3rd, 2020 election. I know nobody's thinking about this day or this election, but we wanted to bring to your attention there is an election, Kathy, on November 3rd. It is rapidly approaching, and hopefully we can, allow our cooler heads to prevail as the matter is definitely involves some stresses. I appreciate you, Mary, for bringing to this board's attention the needs that you have and where we are in otherwise a somewhat uncertain time for many people. So we appreciate your information and comfort you can bring to the public that we know what we're doing. So thank you. The floor is yours.
Good morning, Chairman Perez and members of the board. Mary Bedard, Auditor, Controller, County Clerk, Registrar of Voters. I would like to provide your board with an update on the preparations we've been making over the past several months to enable voters to vote safely during the pandemic. We have been working closely with our partners in the community that provide our poll sites and with the Public Health Department to ensure that the sites are suitable in the current circumstances and can provide for appropriate physical distancing for voters and poll workers. Since voters in Kern County would prefer to vote at their neighborhood poll site and not have to travel great distances to get to a polling place, we have worked very hard to maintain our traditional poll place model. We are one of only 14 counties in California that have been able to do that. In fact, we will have more poll sites in November than we had in March, unlike the majority of counties that have had to greatly reduce the number of their polling places. However, we have had to move some poll sites and precincts based on recommendations from the Public Health Department. So we encourage voters to check their sample ballot for the location of their poll site. The single biggest change for voters planning to vote in person on Election Day is that since all voters were mailed a ballot, voters will need to surrender their mail ballot in order to be able to vote regularly at the polls. If they do not have their ballot to surrender, they will need to vote provisionally. Their provisional ballot can be counted once we confirm that they did not also vote their mail ballot. We will have additional poll workers assigned to each poll site to ensure proper disinfecting and social distancing. Voting booths and pens will be disinfected after each voter. I know there is a lot of concern among voters and poll workers about the fact that we cannot require voters to wear a mask. However, I want to assure you that alternate procedures are in place, including the option of allowing voters to vote in their cars. In addition, there will be a separate area at each poll site set aside for voters not wearing a mask, so they will not be using the same voting booths or interacting with other voters. We will have 2 poll workers located outside each poll place, weather permitting. They will have a vote-by-mail drop box, so voters just wanting to drop off their mail ballot will not have to go inside. The poll workers will also greet voters and manage any lines if we need to have voters wait outside until there is room for them inside the poll site. Probably the single biggest thing voters can do to help prevent lines on Election Day is to bring their mail ballot to surrender. Voting provisionally takes longer than regular voting, so if we have a lot of voters needing to vote provisionally, it will slow down the process for everyone. In addition, as a safety precaution, I voted stickers are being mailed out with the mail ballots and will not be handed out at the poll sites. Vote-by-mail ballots were mailed starting yesterday. Also, sample ballots began being mailed out last week and are continuing to be mailed as they are printed. For voters who want to vote their mail ballot but would prefer to return it in person, we will have curbside drop-off events on the last 3 Saturdays in October at many Kern County Library branches, Bakersfield College, and Cal State Bakersfield. At the end of each of these events, the ballots will be brought back to the election office by the poll workers. While Kern does not have early voting, for the first time we will have satellite election offices in the outlying areas for voters who need assistance but do not want to have to go to a poll site on Election Day. At a satellite office, a voter can have a ballot reissued if they have lost or spoiled it. They can also do conditional voter registration if they miss the deadline of October 19th to register to vote. There will also be language assistance, and voters will be able to use the accessible ballot marking device if needed. Satellite offices will also provide another opportunity for voters to drop off their mail ballots in person. I've attached a tentative list of satellite offices to the board letter. We are still looking to add additional sites as satellite offices and are in conversations with both the City of Tehachapi and the City of Taft to be able to add satellite offices to those locations. I would very much like to thank Andy Sullivan and the staff of the Kern County Library for working so closely with us to provide the curbside ballot drop-off and satellite offices so voters throughout Kern County can have those options for voting safely. On Election Day, we are also planning to have some poll sites throughout Kern County specially designated for curbside drop-off of mail ballots. Once the satellite offices and the Election Day curbside drop-off of sites are finalized, we will be publicizing those as well. Voters can track the status of their mail ballot by going to vote.ca.gov, Where's My Ballot, to receive text, email, or voice notifications when their ballot is mailed, received, and counted. We are continuing to recruit poll workers and are about on track with where we normally are at this point in the election cycle. While we did lose a lot of our longtime poll workers, the public has stepped up, and we have had many new applicants. However, I want to stress we are still in need of more poll workers. Anyone who is interested can go to our website, kernvote.com, and click on the poll worker section to learn more about what is involved. We do provide training to our poll workers. Normally that is done in person. However, this year it will primarily be done online and through Teams meetings. There will also be special COVID training that will be provided to all poll workers, including on the proper use of PPE, disinfecting, and setting up the poll site for proper physical distancing. We have begun community outreach to inform voters of the changes in November. Several weeks ago, we sent a postcard to all voters who are not signed up for permanent vote by mail to let them know that they would be getting a mail ballot. Last week, we sent another postcard to all voters providing information on both voting in person and voting by mail. Now that we have finalized our curbside drop-off events, we will be sending out a postcard to all voters providing details on those events. And once we finalize the satellite offices and the Election Day curbside drop-off locations, we will be sending out that information as well. We have also prepared 2 public service announcements that have gone to the TV and radio stations regarding the changes for November. We also have social media sites and are in the process of preparing other forms of advertising. Sample ballots began being mailed last week, which also contains some information on the changes, as well as giving all voters the location of their polling place. Providing voters with safe options for voting during the pandemic has entailed purchasing additional equipment for the satellite offices, vote-by-mail drop boxes, PPE, hardware and software to assist with the processing of mail ballots, and additional staffing and training for poll workers. We are also doing outreach to voters about the changes this election and what their options are for voting safely. The agreement with the Secretary of State that your board approved on September 15th for nearly $1.5 million, along with the grant your board approved today with the Center for Tech and Civic Life, will enable us to provide a safe voting environment for voters and poll workers and educate voters on the changes taking place for the November election. That concludes my report, and I'm available for any questions you may have.
Thank you for your presentation and hard work, Ms. Bedard. Supervisor Maggard has a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to speak with Ms. Bedard about this. Ms. Bedard, thank you for accepting my invitation to come today. I'm very grateful for your being willing to do that. You've been very open and transparent about this. I've seen good news coverage of your comments in the news, and I just want to thank you for your efforts personally. I also want to thank your department for the great work they've done. It's been very onerous to do all this, so please let your staff know as well that we're grateful for their efforts in that regard. I have a few questions this morning about how the process works. So can you give me first an idea of when the ballots, when should voters expect to see their ballot in their mailbox?
Okay, so the mail ballots started being mailed out yesterday. We have 5 days to get them all in the mail for everyone who is currently a registered voter. So they may not see them until the end of this week or early next week.
So a week or so from now, they should probably have their ballot by. Okay. What happens if, what should I do? My sons don't live here anymore. What happens if a ballot in their name shows up at my house? What should I do with that ballot?
Well, first of all, normally if someone has moved, the post office would return a ballot to us if we did mail one out. If they were still registered to vote here, they would return it to us as undeliverable. If it does get returned because there is still family living here, if it does get delivered to, then putting it back in the mail, returning it, telling the post office to just return it to us, that they no longer live there. That's probably the most effective way to do it. You could also bring it down to our office to return it to us.
Can you just write on the outside of the envelope, no longer lives here?
Yes.
Okay. My mom recently passed away. If her mail was forwarded to my home, I may receive a ballot for her, I suspect. But what if that ballot goes to her former address where a nice family lives now, and I don't know them, but what happens to that ballot then? If they might return it, I suppose, and say it no longer lives here. But what happens to that ballot if they don't return it? If it's just thrown away or whatever, what's the consequence of that?
It really can't be voted if the voter cannot sign. We do check the signature. So in order to be for anyone to actually vote it, rather than if they do get it, one that doesn't belong to them. If they did try to vote it, if anyone tries to vote a ballot that does not belong to them, they have to sign the return envelope. We do check every single signature. We have software that does an initial check that compares the signature to the signature we have on file. But then, if the software identifies a potential mismatch, it will go to one of our senior elections people who have been trained in signature recognition. But then even beyond the software, every single signature will then go to an election worker who, again, does check the signatures. And again, if they identify anything that's a potential mismatch, it goes to a senior employee to review. If we do identify that a signature doesn't match, we do notify the voter if it is because that could happen with a voter that is actually voting their own ballot, and give them an opportunity to correct.
Well, thank you. That was a bit more expansive response than I was looking for. I would never suggest that people that live in my mom's house would do anything like that. What if they just tear it up and throw it away? There's no consequence to that if the person doesn't live there anymore.
Yeah, I mean that.
Do you recommend destroying it before it's put in the garbage?
That certainly would be, our basic recommendation would be to return it to us through the mail, to mark it and send it back to us, because that then notifies us also that they do no longer, so that way we could update our records.
Very good. That's the best way to say that you can tell who isn't there any longer then. Thank you. But by what deadline must voters return their ballots? What is the postmark that needs to be on the ballot when they return it by mail?
The ballot has to be postmarked if they're returning it by mail by November 3rd. So if it's postmarked before or on November 3rd, and then we have to receive it. Normally it's 3 days after the election, but for the November election, the legislature changed it to 17 days after the election, so it would be November 20th. But it still has to be postmarked by November 3rd.
I might have understood the last part of that. So what's the deadline by which you must receive it?
Okay, to receive it would be November 20th. Postmarked by November 3rd, and we would receive it in our office by November 20th. If someone is returning it in person, then of course it has to be returned by 8 p.m. on election night.
On election day, okay. But if they mailed it, it might take, 17 days to show up. So if ballots may be considered valid, even if you receive them by November 20th, by when will we know the results of the election?
Well, we have 30 days to certify, and even in normal times, especially with Kern, in March, we had 72% of our voters were vote by mail, and half of those ballots were returned in person on election day. So, it does normally take us certainly that number of days. So we would expect by certainly late November, we would be certifying the election. But again, we would have most of the ballots counted by that point. We would be waiting for we couldn't certify the election until after that November 20th date, and we had made sure that all of the ballots that were eligible could be counted.
Well, the days of, I don't know if any of you ever did this, but I've ran for office a few times, and the days of staying up till 3 o'clock in the morning to see when the last results come in, and my wife stumbling into the room, from being sound asleep, did we win? That's not going to happen at 3 o'clock in the morning on election night anymore, apparently. So I want to make sure the public understands. So by late November, but no later than December 3rd, which is 30 days after the election, we will know the results.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. So if someone decides to vote by mail, how do they go about tracking? I understand there's a process by which they can track where is my vote. Can you walk us through how that works?
Okay, so the state, Secretary of State on their website, and people can go to their main website, vote.ca.gov, and on that website there's a box it's called Where's My Ballot. If they click on that, they can sign up to be informed, of the status of their ballot, and they can sign up for text messages or email or voice notifications, and they will get these notifications every time the status changes. So actually, people who are already signed up for it may have already received, text saying it's been put in the mail, and certainly then once they mail it, to us. We will get, they will get notified, that it's, in the mail. They get notified when we receive it, and then, where it is in our process. So eventually, if we accept it and it's counted, they will get a notification letting them know that.
So when they go to vote.ca.gov, how do they tell the state which ballot is theirs? Is there a number or a barcode or something?
No, they give the state their information, because it's in the vote, the state has the voter registration information for all the counties, and the counties have, are putting in their information, obviously, as we process it. It all runs through that system.
So you don't need to put a number or something. You put your name as you're registered to vote, and that tracks it to your county, and you can tell that way.
That's correct.
Okay, so they could sign up for vote.ca.gov even after they mail their ballot if they just become curious as to its status.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I think the most likely scenario or a very likely scenario for many people is they will arrive at the voting place if they want to vote in person, but they will forget to bring their vote by mail ballot with them. I know that I personally have forgotten it or lost it many times between when it is received and when I go to the polls. So what happens in that event? I know you described this earlier, but could you just walk me through one more time? What happens if I show up at the polls, say, hey, I'm Mike and I'd like to vote, and I forgot when they say, where's your ballot? I say, I forgot it. What happens then? Okay, so what happens is that you would have to vote provisionally, and when you vote provisionally, first of all, you have to fill out information on an envelope, so that we can understand why you're voting provisionally, because there can be other reasons. But certainly, if you did not have ballot to surrender, that would be put down there as the reason. Your information would be put on that envelope. We would then give you a ballot. You would vote that ballot and then put it in the envelope, and then that envelope would go into the ballot box. And so then once we get it back to the office, now we wouldn't be able to count that on election night. We would vote only those that were voted regularly at the polls. We would only count those on election night. And then we would go through and count evaluate all of the vote by mail first, to see who has voted by mail, and then finally we would look at the provisionals, because we would need to wait to make sure and be able to identify whether or not this person that voted provisionally also voted their mail ballots. So after we've processed all of the vote by mail ballots, then we go through the provisional ballots, and if you haven't already voted your vote by mail ballot, then we would count that as well. So if I show up and I haven't brought my mail ballot with me, they say, you can vote, Mr. Maggard, but you must vote provisionally. When you said it, what is the order in which, when will my provisional vote be counted?
It is basically at the end of the process. So, after we finished processing all of during that 20 to 30 day period, after the election, once we finished processing all of the vote by mail ballots, then we would look at the provisional ballots.
So is there any scenario in which a provisional ballot would not be counted?
There can be a variety of reasons why somebody is voting provisionally. And, so there are possibilities that they are not an eligible voter or whatever. So, but in the case of someone who simply did not surrender their vote by mail ballot, as long as we identify that they did not vote that mail ballot, it would be counted.
So some people are tripping over the wording that says so that your provisional vote can be counted. Can doesn't mean may or may not. Can just means you are unable to count it. You will eventually
we will count
every
it.
ballot.
Yes.
Okay, very good. That was important, I thought to say. Okay, as we get closer to Election Day, I want to thank you for your efforts, and I know it's going to be a very busy time for you. At every opportunity we can, I hope we remind people to bring their mail-in ballots with them if they vote in public, vote in person, to make sure that they are indeed surrendering that so those votes can be counted as quickly as possible. Thank you, Ms. Bedard. I appreciate that. Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't have any other questions at this point.
Thank you, Supervisor Magritte. Supervisor Scribner.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just was wondering, Madam Clerk, do we have someone who's holding on the line that wants to comment on this? I'd be happy to let them comment before I ask my questions.
We do have one member of the public who is signed up and ready to address the board. If the chair would like to hear public comment first.
I think the speaker is going to be on this agenda item the entire time, waiting anyway till the end. So knowing who it is. What it's really, I think it's fine for you to go, Zach.
Okay,
and then she can comment on everything she's heard here because she's a regular observer, if you will.
Okay, thank you. Well, first of all, Ms. Bedard, thank you so much for being here today. And as has been expressed, appreciate your staff. We know that this is, a tough time to be conducting any kind of, governmental process that we've done for years and years with COVID complicating it. Just had a couple questions for you. How are the decisions made as far as the drop-off locations or the places to vote? How are those decisions made as far as the locations across the county? How much coverage are we going to have in some of the outlying areas, et cetera?
Well, as far as polling places, for the most part, they are the same polling places we had in March. We have just had to move some of them that could not be used during COVID. So they will be moved to nearby sites, and so you'll basically have the same coverage throughout the county as you've had in past elections. Okay. Now, we don't have curbside, or we don't have drop boxes. We aren't, because, we are on this traditional poll place model, we don't have to have all of the drop boxes, out for the full 29 days in the outlying areas. Mm-hmm. We do have the one, here inside the elections office, and then one outside of the county administrative building that's available 24/7. So that is available particularly to people in the Bakersfield area. And then we will have these curbside events on the 3 Saturdays, before the election, as well as, at the satellite offices, there will be the drop box where they can drop off their ballot.
Okay, thank you. We know because this now it's a all mail election, mailing out ballots to all registered voters versus an absentee where you request an absentee ballot and it's sent to you, that there is some anxiety about the integrity of the ballots and how those may or may not be counted. And so part of the process, particularly when you have elections that are close, where there's some angst about how ballots are counted and which ones are deemed legitimate and which aren't. The observers, a lot of campaigns will have observers that want to look at the signatures, and so how are we dealing with that in the age of COVID? In my experience in years past, you would have an observer that could be standing behind someone working in your department, and so now with the distancing, et cetera, how are we dealing with that? How many feet away do they have to be? Are they actually going to be able to see the ballots as they're being counted, and those signatures that are deemed to not match the voter registration card, et cetera? How are we dealing with that with the COVID situation?
Well, yeah, we are going to have the observers maintaining a distance. We also will be, needing to limit the number of observers who can come in. So we may have, if we have a lot of observers who want to come in, they may have to take turns, coming in and waiting in the lobby until it's their turn. So we won't be able to have as many observers, and they will have to be maintaining a distance from the election workers who are examining the signatures.
Will they be able to see the ballots
Well,
from where they're standing?
Well, from, what you see on when the election workers are examining the signatures, they're pulling up, we scan in the envelopes, so they're pulling up on a computer screen the signature and the signature on file, and just examining it and then it moves on to the next one. So, they would have to maintain at least a 6-foot distance. So to be able to, from the process, and we probably would want them farther away than that, but they would be able to see the process as it's going on.
But can they see the signatures?
Whether or not they're going to be able to be close enough to examine the signatures, they really can't. They can't challenge the signatures. I mean, we challenge the signatures. They can observers simply view the process.
Okay. You said that when the election workers, they're looking at the signature, there's a computer screen where they can compare that to their voter registration card, is that correct?
Well, yeah, it's a signature on file, and there can be
Right.
several signatures on file. Their original voter registration, or people can update their signature if they think their signature has changed. But so it's the signature we currently have on file.
Is there a way that comparison, or I guess the computer screen could be projected onto a larger screen where an observer could see that? Or another question, after the fact of these signatures have been deemed correct, would there be a way in which any observer would be able to look and see which signatures were deemed as a match and which aren't?
I'd have to check on some of that, the legality of some of that. I know that it is the election workers, it's the election staff that does make that determination. And so, whether or not, and we are looking at different ways. We have been talking about different ways to be able to handle the observers, to see, so that they can see as much as they possibly can and still maintain the physical distancing. So, we can certainly look into that, whether or not. We will have, of course, we have many people with many computer screens examining
Absolutely.
signatures.
And I know it's difficult, and with COVID, et cetera, and obviously the safety of your workers and the folks that are there observing is, that should be the first thing that we're concerned about. But because I think there's a lot of anxiety out there with some folks as far as election integrity, et cetera, when we have a whole new kind of a process. And so I think to the extent to which we can try and assuage that concern. Keep bearing in mind all the constraints you have on your department and resources, et cetera. I think that transparency should be, should certainly be prioritized. So I appreciate that. You looking to see if there are ways in which you can address that. This is something, I know this is a question I've asked you before, and I just continue to get complaints about this, and so I'd like you to try to, if you could, explain this to folks that are concerned about it. For years and years, I don't know, I haven't been through as many elections as Supervisor Maggard has, but close. The updates of the numbers on the election, usually in the past, around 8 o'clock, the results go up for the absentees and whatever you had available. And then the updates seem to come in every 15 or 20 minutes or so. And for the past few elections, it seems like the updates are happening 2 to 3 hours apart. And so can you tell us if you believe that statement is even true, if you think that the updates now come a little bit slower than they maybe did in the past, or not, And if so, why? Why are we doing it where the updates come out every 2 or 3 hours versus a more frequent display of the votes coming in?
Well, I can't really address what many years ago would have been, as far as the updates, but certainly with the current equipment that we've got, it's the currently certified equipment, it does take time. You actually have to stop the process for about a half hour every time you run an update. So if you're updating every half hour, you'll be there till 6 in the morning. As it is, we do it. We do that update after immediately, or as close to 8 as we can after people have finished voting. If we still got people voting
Right.
at 8, we don't put that out. But as soon as they're done voting, we put that first count out. And yes, usually in the last several elections, it's been about every 2 hours. And part of that also, because of the timing, is just when the ballots come in. So you get the ballots coming in from Bakersfield, then we can run an update. Then you start getting some of the outlying offices, outlying poll sites, and them coming in. And then finally, of course, usually it's
Ridgecrest is usually last, Supervisor Gleason, coming in. It's a long drive. So, well, thank you. Thank you for your responses, and we appreciate you being here to give this report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Supervisor Scrivener. Do we have any other board reflections before we go to our caller who's on hold? Gentlemen? Okay.
So,
Kathy?
Madam Chair, we do have, you have received a letter. It's at the dais at your seat from Emma De La Rosa with Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, and Ms. De La Rosa is on the line ready to address your board. Ms. De La Rosa, if you would unmute your phone by pressing *6, you may address the board.
Good morning, members of the board. I hope everyone's doing well today. Thank you, Mary, for the great report and presentation. I'm glad to hear that you have a lot of different methods of informing the community about these changes. Those were not listed on the letter, so I'm glad to hear them today. I do want to emphasize the importance of reaching out those precincts that will be impacted by the relocated polling sites. I called yesterday to find information on as to which polling sites were going to be relocated, and that information was not shared. Is that information going to be posted publicly? I think it should be, or at least postcards should be sent out to people whose precincts or polling sites will be relocated. Also, I think you did mention that satellite offices and the new voting procedures will be posted on the website. If those two main points could be posted on the main page and not on the FAQ page, that would make it so much easier for the community to access that information. In addition to that, I wanted to highlight that there were a few instances during the last elections of poll workers asking for Social Security or ID from voters, and as you know, that is not required unless there is missing information. So I want to make sure that everyone is aware of that and hope that that does not happen again. That can definitely be considered voter suppression, and we obviously don't want that in our county. So that would be it for me. Thank you so much. I do appreciate your report. Have a good day.
Okay, thank you for your contributions and insight on these important matters. Do we have anything else for this agenda item? Kathy?
No more public comment.
Okay. Very good. Ms. Bedard, thank you for your hard work and transparency and being here. Whatever we can do for you and me as chair, please let me know. We're certainly at your service and appreciate you. Okay, moving along to our final item this morning under the clerk of the board is the selection of our California State Association of Counties Board of Directors members for 2021. Floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. As you're aware, each year the California State Association of Counties, known as CSAC, requests the election of representatives of all California counties to serve on the CSAC Board of Directors. Your board at this time needs to elect one member and one alternate member for a one-year term before the annual CSAC conference in November. Currently, Supervisor Scrivener is the primary member and Supervisor Perez is the alternate member. Therefore, it's recommended that your board appoint a member and an alternate member to the CSAC Board of Directors and direct my office to provide notification to CSAC. That concludes my report, and I'm available for questions.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, Mick, I'm sorry, you cannot be the CSAC member next year. I'm sorry to break the news to you. No, I'm kidding. I did speak with Supervisor Couch and asked him what his feelings were about if we remain the same, given our board makeup and culture, and he indicated that he is fine with that and that he did not want that seat for himself. So I would ask Supervisors Maggard and Scrivener for your input. I'm certainly open to it remaining the same, but I would like both of your input as well.
I am happy to motion. Can
Okay, please do.
Motion that Supervisor Scrivener, I believe the situation is Supervisor Scrivener be a representative and Supervisor Perez be our alternate.
Second.
Thank you, Supervisors Maggard and Supervisor Couch. Thank you. The motion is to remain the same, Supervisor Scrivener as our CSAC board member, and then myself as an alternate when he is not available. Luckily, we agree on everything, so it won't be a big deal if I replace you. There's Zach. Okay, so Kathy?
Thank you, and I will inform you there is no public comment regarding this item.
Excellent. So we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes.
Zach, you okay with this? Yes, sir. Okay.
Gee, thanks, Mick.
Thank you. The motion is approved. All ayes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. We are now going to adjourn to closed session. Of course, we'll be back at 2 for a brief session. Under CAO, we're going to consider items 49 and 50, and under County Council, item number 51. So, Mick, thank you for your motion to adjourn. Without objection, so ordered.